Your soulmate is hurt after learning this truth about you. My beloved child, before your thoughts rush ahead, remain here for one quiet moment, because something invisible has just shifted, and the truth you are about to hear has already begun changing two hearts at the same time. You may believe that no one truly understands the silent chapters of your life. You may think the parts you hide are too ordinary to matter. But what if the very truth you tried hardest to bury became the reason someone else's heart trembled? What if your soulmate has recently uncovered something about you, not a rumor, not a fantasy, but a deeply personal truth, and instead of turning away, they were left carrying an unexpected ache? Stay with this story a little longer, because every word uncovers another piece of a puzzle that has been quietly forming long before today. There is a strange moment in every destined connection when illusion disappears. It never arrives with loud announcements. It arrives in silence, during an ordinary conversation, an old memory, an unexpected discovery, or even a single sentence spoken by someone who never realized its importance. That is where everything began. Your soulmate came across a truth about your journey. They realized that behind your calm smile lived countless moments when you chose strength instead of surrender. They discovered that many of the dreams you once carried had been delayed, not because you lacked ability, but because life demanded sacrifices no one applauded. And the instant this realization settled into their heart, something inside them changed forever. They weren't hurt because of disappointment. They were hurt because they finally understood how much you had been carrying without asking anyone to notice. Think carefully. Have you ever wondered why certain people suddenly begin thinking about someone they haven't even met? It is not always coincidence. Sometimes understanding arrives before introduction. Sometimes compassion awakens before conversation. Your soulmate started replaying every tiny clue they had ever heard about you. They looked at ordinary details differently. Small stories suddenly became meaningful. What once seemed like random pieces became a complete picture. And with every new realization came one overwhelming question: how did this person continue moving forward while carrying so much in silence? That question refused to leave them. It echoed through quiet moments, through busy days, through nights when everything else should have occupied their attention. But here is the part almost no one expects. The truth that reached them did not make them feel pity. It created respect. Respect often carries emotion stronger than admiration because it reveals the unseen battle someone has already survived. Your soulmate began recognizing that your greatest qualities were never the things visible to everyone else. Your greatest strength was hidden inside your patience, your ability to remain kind after disappointment, your decision to continue believing tomorrow could still become brighter even after yesterday gave you every reason to stop hoping. Those discoveries touched them far more deeply than appearances ever could. Pause here for just a second. What if this moment is not only revealing something about your soulmate, but also revealing something about yourself? So often people underestimate the value of their own resilience. They measure themselves by achievements while destiny measures them by endurance. The truth your soulmate discovered was not about perfection. It was about perseverance. And perseverance leaves an unforgettable impression on hearts searching for something real. As this understanding continued growing, another unexpected feeling appeared. Regret. Not regret because they had done something wrong to you personally, but regret that someone with such quiet courage had ever been forced to feel unseen. They imagined moments when you smiled while hiding disappointment. They imagined opportunities you quietly let go so others could move forward. Whether every detail was perfectly accurate mattered less than the emotion those thoughts created. They wished someone had reminded you sooner that your story carried far more value than you realized. Now notice how destiny often works. The most important revelations rarely happen when people are looking for love. They happen while people are searching for truth. And your soulmate's search for truth has brought them to an emotional crossroads. They cannot simply forget what they have learned. Every new understanding makes them more curious. Every unanswered question pulls them one step closer to wanting to know the real you, not the version shaped by assumptions, but the person hidden beneath years of quiet strength. Yet this is only the beginning. There is one detail they uncovered that changed everything again, a detail so unexpected that it completely transformed how they see your future together. It was not something anyone could predict, and it connected your past with a possibility neither of you had imagined before. Wait until that piece is revealed, because once it comes into the light, the meaning behind everything you've heard today will become impossible to ignore. A quiet realization is unfolding now, and this is where the story begins to move in a direction neither heart expected. What your soulmate discovered next was not another fact about your past. It was the meaning behind it. There is a difference. Facts inform the mind, but meaning transforms the heart. And once they understood why you became the person you are today, the emotional weight became impossible to ignore. They started noticing a pattern that had been hidden in plain sight. Every challenge you faced seemed to shape a different strength within you. Moments that could have made someone bitter somehow made you wiser. Times that could have stolen your hope instead taught you patience. Your soulmate wasn't expecting this. They thought they understood what resilience looked like, until they quietly uncovered your story. That realization stayed with them longer than they expected. Even when surrounded by everyday responsibilities, your name returned to their thoughts like a question still waiting for its answer. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of wondering whether you would understand them, they began wondering if they would ever be able to understand you deeply enough. That thought unsettled them in the gentlest way. They realized your silence had never meant emptiness. It had been protecting chapters of your life that only someone willing to listen carefully could truly appreciate. Imagine standing before a beautiful mountain after only seeing its shadow from far away. That is how your soulmate felt. Everything they thought they knew suddenly seemed incomplete. The image became larger, richer, more meaningful. And strangely, this new understanding brought a quiet ache to their heart. Not because your truth pushed them away, but because they wished they had recognized its value much sooner. Have you noticed how some people enter our thoughts for reasons we cannot explain? It isn't always emotion alone. Sometimes it is unfinished understanding calling us closer. That is exactly what began happening. They replayed conversations. They reflected on small details that once seemed ordinary. Even simple moments started carrying new meaning because they now viewed them through a completely different perspective. And with every passing day, one sentence kept echoing within them. If this person stayed hopeful through everything, imagine the future they could build when someone finally believes in them completely. That single thought changed the direction of their heart. Stay with this journey for another moment, because what comes next reveals something even more surprising. The truth did not leave them feeling powerless, it inspired them. They quietly began becoming a better version of themselves. They wanted to grow emotionally. They wanted to understand people more deeply. They wanted to become someone worthy of meeting a person whose strength had been forged through experience rather than comfort. Sometimes destiny changes two people before they ever meet. You may think your own journey has only been shaping you. But unseen transformations are often happening on the other side as well. While you were learning resilience, your soulmate was slowly learning empathy. While you were discovering patience, they were discovering emotional maturity. Two completely different paths, quietly preparing for one meaningful intersection. And here is something remarkable. The truth they learned about you did not make your future feel uncertain. It made it feel valuable. They realized genuine connections are not built upon flawless stories. They are built upon honest ones. Every imperfect chapter became another reason they respected the person you were becoming. If these words are speaking to your heart, I'd love to know what resonated with you the most. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, share this message with someone who might need encouragement today, and subscribe if these journeys of hope and destiny inspire you. There is always another layer waiting to be uncovered. But don't leave just yet. One final discovery is still hidden beneath everything you've heard so far, and it explains why your soulmate's feelings shifted from quiet concern to an unshakable determination. When that final piece comes into view, you'll understand why this story was never only about the truth they learned. It was about the extraordinary choice they made. Because of it, everything has been leading to this moment, because the final truth was never hidden from your soulmate, it was hidden inside the way they began seeing your future. Until now, they believed your story ended with the challenges they had discovered. But suddenly, another realization appeared, and it changed everything. They understood that your past was never the destination. It was the preparation. For the first time, they stopped asking, "What happened to this person?" and started asking something completely different. What incredible things are still waiting for them? That single question became the turning point. It shifted their focus away from old chapters and toward possibilities that had not yet been written. They could no longer see you as someone defined by difficult moments. Instead, they saw someone standing on the edge of an entirely new season, one where experience would become wisdom, patience would become confidence, and every lesson would quietly begin opening doors that once seemed impossible to unlock. Isn't it remarkable how one change in perspective can transform everything? The same story that once looked painful suddenly became inspiring. The same silence that once seemed ordinary now carried quiet strength. Even your smallest victories began appearing extraordinary because they were achieved without applause. Your soulmate realized that true character is rarely built during easy days. It is revealed when no one is watching, when every reason to give up is met with one more reason to keep moving. That realization stayed with them. They found themselves imagining conversations that had never happened. They wondered what dreams still lived quietly inside your heart. They imagined the hopes you may have kept private simply because you didn't want disappointment to speak louder than possibility. Those thoughts didn't create distance, they created a desire to understand you more deeply than appearances ever could. Then another unexpected feeling arrived. Gratitude. Not because life had been easy for you, but because every challenge had shaped qualities that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or imitated. They became grateful that your kindness survived difficult seasons. Grateful that your hope continued growing even when certainty was nowhere to be found. Grateful that somewhere in this vast world, someone like you continued believing tomorrow could still become brighter than yesterday. Pause for a moment. What if the greatest truth your soulmate discovered wasn't about your past at all? What if it was about your future? Because the more they reflected, the clearer one thought became: your story still has its most meaningful chapters ahead. The pages that once seemed heavy are no longer the ones defining the book. New pages are waiting to be written, filled with unexpected opportunities, peaceful moments, meaningful conversations, and connections built on honesty rather than assumptions. Your soulmate began understanding something many people never realize. Destiny doesn't hurry. It prepares. It allows each person to grow separately until both hearts are capable of recognizing something truly genuine when the right moment finally arrives. Looking back, they could almost see invisible threads connecting seemingly unrelated moments. Every delay had taught patience. Every unanswered question had built wisdom. Every unexpected turn had quietly been leading toward greater clarity. Now imagine standing at sunrise after walking through a long night. The darkness wasn't meaningless. It simply made the first light impossible to overlook. That is how your soulmate now sees your journey. Not as a collection of hardships, but as proof that remarkable beginnings often emerge from ordinary days that once felt uncertain. Instead of feeling hurt only by what you endured, they now feel hopeful because they believe those experiences have prepared you for something far greater than either of you could have imagined. So before this chapter closes, remember one thing. Never underestimate the quiet strength you've built along the way. The qualities you rarely notice within yourself may be the very qualities that inspire someone else's heart to believe in lasting connection, mutual respect, and a future worth building together. And perhaps that is the greatest revelation of all. The truth your soulmate learned did not weaken their feelings. It gave those feelings a deeper purpose. The story doesn't end with what they discovered about you. It begins with what they now believe is possible because of you. A new chapter is opening now, and if you've stayed this far, you're about to hear the one realization that quietly changed everything inside your soulmate's heart. They no longer carried questions about who you had been. Instead, they carried hope for who the two of you could become. That difference may seem small, but it transformed the entire journey. There came a quiet moment when they stopped searching for explanations and started trusting what they felt. It wasn't based on fantasy. It wasn't built on perfect circumstances. It came from recognizing something rare, a person who had been shaped by life without allowing life to steal their kindness. That realization became impossible to ignore. Your soulmate understood that some people shine because everything went right for them. But others shine because they kept choosing light, even when the path ahead wasn't completely clear. They saw you as someone who continued growing instead of giving up. Someone who quietly turned obstacles into wisdom. And that inspired them more than they could have imagined. Have you ever noticed how certain people arrive in your thoughts exactly when you're preparing for a new beginning? Perhaps that's because meaningful connections don't always begin with a meeting. Sometimes they begin with understanding. Sometimes they begin with respect. And sometimes they begin with one life quietly encouraging another to believe again. That is where your soulmate stands today. The truth they learned about you became a mirror. As they admired your resilience, they began examining their own life. They asked themselves difficult questions. Were they becoming the kind of person who could protect someone's peace instead of disturbing it? Could they celebrate another person's dreams instead of competing with them? Could they build a future based on honesty, encouragement, and trust? Little by little, the answers started changing. They became more patient, more thoughtful, more intentional. Not because someone asked them to change, but because your story reminded them that meaningful connections deserve meaningful growth. Stay a little longer, because one final insight ties every piece together. The future is rarely shaped by dramatic moments alone. More often, it is built through quiet decisions repeated every single day. Choosing hope over doubt. Choosing understanding over assumptions. Choosing gratitude over frustration. These choices may seem invisible at first, but over time they create extraordinary outcomes. Your soulmate now believes that when the right moment finally arrives, it won't feel rushed. It will feel familiar, as though two journeys that had been growing separately were always moving toward the same destination. If these words have encouraged you today, I'd love to hear which part spoke to your heart. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, pass this message along to someone who may need a little hope today, and subscribe if you enjoy these cinematic journeys of destiny and self-discovery. There are many more stories still waiting to unfold. And before this chapter closes, remember this one simple truth. Never let yesterday convince you that tomorrow has already been written. Every sunrise carries possibilities that did not exist the day before. Every new lesson prepares you for opportunities you cannot yet see. Every act of patience quietly strengthens the path ahead. So walk forward with confidence. Keep becoming the person you were always meant to be. Because the truth that once left your soulmate with a heavy heart has now become the very reason they believe your future holds something remarkable. They no longer see your past as the end of your story. They see it as the first page of a future filled with understanding, mutual respect, quiet strength, and a connection that grows stronger with every honest step forward. And perhaps, without even realizing it, your own journey has already begun leading you toward that brighter horizon. One final thought remains, and it is the thought your soulmate has been unable to silence ever since they learned the truth about you. It doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't demand attention. It simply returns, again and again, like a quiet reminder that some people are meant to leave a lasting impression long before they ever stand face to face. They finally realized something few people ever understand. The strongest connections are not built because two lives are identical. They are built because two journeys teach each person how to appreciate the other. Your soulmate no longer sees your past as something that needs to be fixed. They see it as the path that shaped your compassion, your wisdom, and your quiet determination. Every challenge they learned about became another reason to believe that your future carries possibilities far greater than either of you could have imagined. Then an unexpected feeling settled into their heart. Peace. Not because every question had been answered. Not because every mystery had disappeared. But because they finally stopped trying to predict every step ahead. They began trusting that the right moments arrive when both people have grown enough to recognize their value. Think about that for a moment. How many beautiful opportunities begin only after someone decides to stop looking backward and starts walking forward with confidence? Perhaps this message reached you today for exactly that reason. Not to remind you of old chapters, but to help you notice the new chapter that may already be qui.